I think it was down on Elm or Race, and Chris was the driver of the truck at the time, and I was on his side of the truck. We had reported a victim it was the third floor. So he put this stick up to the third floor, and I was climbing the ladder because we thought somebody was in there. We could see fire in the window, and he was operating the aerial when I was climbing up in my gear. And as I was going up the ladder, he was actually still raising it because we were in a hurry. We thought there was a victim in there. The spotlight on the end of the aerial caught that power line and stretched it tight like a bow and arrow. And I looked back at Chris and I said, "There's a power line on the ladder." He said, "Knock it off. Just knock it off." So not thinking anything of it, I took my axe and I smacked it as hard as I could with the axe, and it popped off the spotlight and came back and hit me like a bow and arrow would, right in the face. Hit me in the mouth, knocked me on my back on the aerial.
Attention all units. Stand by for special assignment. Responders, Mo Vassar and Don Roper. You are requested to report to the microphone. This is Firehouse Chronicles. Proceed when ready.
We used to run, try the flame. Now we just let our coffee slow. You wink like you've got secrets only chaos used to know. And I laugh like I believe you, though your stories grow and grow. We used to run, try the flame.
And welcome to the Firehouse Chronicles. I'm retired fire captain Maurice Vassar, and this is retired fire lieutenant Don Roper. We both had 33 years on the fire force. And Don, today you've brought us a special guest. Who do we have?
We have District 1, 29-year veteran Matt Roeder, and we're glad to have him on. He's going to share some informative information and some of the history, where he came from, how he came to be, and we'll listen to his story. Matt Roeder.
Hi, fellas. Thanks for having me.
Sure thing.
I guess the story I was going to start with was my first assignment out of drill school was with Lieutenant Roper. As we talked about, I was a young kid. I was 21. I didn't know much about the world in general. The only exposure I really had was the Army. I got my first assignment out of drill school with Don. Luckily for me, he was a great guy, great mentor. Back in 1996, November 1996. Seems like a long time ago now, doesn't it, Don?
It's a long time ago, man. That's pretty
It was great
long.
to leave. We had a good crew. One story that I remember was like kind of a baptism by fire for me. Was Don and I made my first fire together. It was I got to the 38th. I think it was mid-November, maybe November 15th to 21st, somewhere in that area. My classmates might get mad at me, but I don't remember the exact date. And I remember like the first 4 or 5 tours, I wouldn't sleep at all for 24 hours straight because I was scared to death.
Oh,
and
man,
I'd miss a run. And Don had to order me to go to bed. He said, on the third tour, you're not sleeping for 24 hours straight. He said, "Hey, if you don't go to bed and we get a run at 2 in the morning, you're going to be useless. You need to go get some sleep so you can make some good decisions if we get a run in the middle of the night." And sure enough, it was probably, I think it was December 22nd or 23rd.
Was around Christmas time.
Before we worked right before Christmas, we met a 1-alarm fire up in Winton Terrace. I still remember the address. It was 588 Strand Lane. I'm sure I think I'm allowed to say that. I imagine the family doesn't live there anymore, I assume, in 30 years. It was my first working fire. And it was me, Don, Bob Tarter, and Howard Stewart. I remember it was the crew. Rick Tonis was our other roughneck. I think he was off that day. And Hollis laid off. We had reports of a child trapped on the second floor. So Don and I went in, and I was new as new could be. I didn't know a thing about the fire department. And he and I it was a police officer on scene first. They said there was a report of a child trapped on the second floor.
Yep.
And he and I went to the second floor without a line, just to search. I think Don had some truck experience at that time, so he was comfortable with searching. And like I said, I didn't know anything from anything other than what I learned in drill school. Don't trust me. Yeah.
Stay to the right. I'll go to the left.
I'm surprised you remember that. Yeah. I went right. You went left.
I remember that.
I can picture the room to this day still. You went left. The bunk beds were on the left, if you remember, and there was a closet right. And I found a 2-year-old little boy in the closet. He was apparently trying to get out of the room and went to the wrong door. Something you spoke about in other podcasts. I remember hearing you say about searching the nooks and crannies of the rooms. I went to the closet. I found what I thought was a small child, and I remember motioning to you, say, "Don, I think I got the kid." And you reached over and and grabbed the kid's leg, I think, and he said, "Yep, get him out of here." And I turned around and left. You stayed up there, and as I was going down the stairs, I think Hollis was coming up with the line. You two put the fire out, and I ran out and handed the baby off to the medic unit or the rescue unit at the
Yeah,
time.
you handed him off to Ken Donald, if you remember correctly. It was one of Ken's first fatalities of a child, and he took it pretty hard. But you handed him off to Ken Donald, and Ken Donald took him to the medic unit.
Yeah, I do remember passing him off. I did not remember being Ken, but obviously I worked with Ken a lot over the years. We didn't talk about it a whole lot. I'm certain. I do remember him taking it really hard, though. I think he had kids about that age at the time.
He did,
and I did not. I was young. I didn't have any kids at the time, and it was a very impactful fire for me. Obviously, it kind of set the tone for my career. Don showed me a lot. It was an emotional type thing. It's the first time out of drill school. You don't expect that. So I was very appreciative to have Don there with me.
How long had you been on when this fire happened?
It was probably a month.
Whoa,
Yeah.
Man, that's early.
If that, it was maybe somewhere between 3 and 5 weeks. It was like I said, I got out of drill school.
It wasn't long after you came out.
November, I got out of drill school, and it was right before Christmas. So it was like,
it was right before Christmas.
4 or 5 weeks.
Actually, if you remember, there were 2 kids in that building, in that room. One got out. They set the fire. They were playing with fire and set the fire.
It was his brother.
One little boy got out, and the other little boy.
His brother lit the fire. Yeah.
He didn't get out.
I remember his name. I'm not going to say it, but I still remember his name to this day. I remember the address. I remember everything about it.
I don't remember any of that.
It was imprinted in my mind for obvious reasons,
Yeah.
But it was
it was
a
big impact.
It was tough. Yeah. But and obviously over the years, over the 29 years, I went down to Truck 29. I was down there for about 15 years at Roughneck. I worked with you at the time, Lieutenant Vassar. I remember you transferred down there I think you were there for a little over a year, if I remember right.
I think it was about a year or so.
And then you made captain there, but we always had a good time down there too.
We did.
I remember all the funny stories you had, your stand-up comedian routines and stuff you had all the time. It was always fun.
Me? Stand up?
No.
I don't remember that.
Do you remember on that fire, just reflecting back on the fire that we made up there in Winton Terrace, do you remember after we got back and everything was said and done, the next day they called us for an interview at the firehouse? Remember that?
Yep, I do. They came to my house, actually. The news.
Did they come to your house?
News channels came to my house, I think, a couple of days later, too, and they interviewed me on my porch. But I don't remember.
I remember being at the firehouse. I don't think they came to my house, but they came to your house.
Yeah, and maybe I wasn't there the day that you got interviewed at the firehouse. I don't remember exactly.
They called me in. Did they call you in?
I don't think so.
Yeah, they came to your house. They called me in for the interview at the 38s.
Yeah.
They probably didn't want to come to your neighborhood, Don.
They didn't want to come to my neighborhood. But speaking of that fire, in the interview, all that took place. How did that impact you? What type of impaction did it have on you after that? Did you ever think about it or worry about it?
Not a lot. No, I think I was too young and too naive in the job, and I hate to say the word dumb, but I just didn't know any better. I kind of thought that's just what we do.
Right.
Really had the experience that you guys did at the time. So I didn't realize how big of an event that was at the time. Now looking back, that's just a very rare thing to have that happen. Luckily,
that is. Did it ever happen to you again? Did you ever have a run like that?
I've had fatalities, just not child fatalities. I don't remember another infant like that. I think the kid was 2 years old, so I just don't remember any. There was another run that we had up on McMillan Street years later. Todd Stagmuller and I made an attempted save from a fire victim on the 3rd floor of an apartment building that was a fatality also, and there was several others along the way that I wasn't necessarily personally involved in, but I was at the fires for them. Obviously I made plenty of other fatal fires. There was a handful over the years where I was the one pulling the person out. Never another kid like that. No, but it was tough. I think the fact that I didn't have any kids at the time probably helped, just because I didn't realize the gravity of it all. I think Don had kids at the time, and obviously Ken Donald did. So I do remember Ken having a hard time with it. I remember you talking to him quite a bit afterwards, Don.
Yeah. As a parent, you can feel the loss. The magnitude of the loss if you're a parent.
Yep.
It's always sad when someone passes away, but boy, you can put yourself in their shoes, and that pain is kind of transferred. Certainly not to the same extent, but it shakes you because I've made those too. It wasn't a fire, but you never forget them.
Right. Yeah.
For
And
sure.
now that I have my own kids, I can definitely empathize with what they lost. It had to be difficult
Definitely.
for the family.
What type of how long were you at the 38s?
I
Because
was
I
there
know
for
you
about a year.
transferred out.
Just
About a
about a year.
year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you what type of education did you get from there? And then how did that affect your career how did you get where you are at today? Who helped you? How did they help you? What were
I
some of
think
the lessons you learned?
when I got there, obviously there was a lot of experience there between you and Bob Tarter, Rick Tonis, Stewart. I came into some older guys at the time, at least in my opinion. Like it doesn't seem like there was you guys were that senior and now, but to me at the time, you guys were very senior people, all of you, and you really showed me the ropes as far as how the fire department works. And like I had no idea. And like I remember my first few medical runs, I'd get off the pumper and I'd grab the bag and take off running to the front door, and you guys would laugh at me like, "What are you doing? We don't run. We don't run to these runs." I said, "What? I called 911. I thought I should. It's just like I should run." And you laugh at me, and I'd be standing by the front door by myself, waiting for everybody else to catch up. Stuff like that. So I kind of learned how things worked in the real
Yeah.
world and in the fire department. And I'd never been to. I never set foot in my life into that type of housing complex. That you
Right.
thought about the Winton Terrace area.
It was a culture shock for you, wasn't it?
So yes, I'd never been exposed to stuff like that before. I'd
Yeah.
seen the people awake all hours of the night, and didn't matter what day or week it was. Same thing with the West End when I went down there. It was just a different world for me, and having you there to kind of walk me through it was helpful for sure.
What type of background did you come from? If you weren't exposed to,
I,
especially Black people and that culture, what kind of environment were you raised in?
I,
Because I know your dad.
Yeah, I grew up in Coleraine. It wasn't like I was sheltered that much. There was
Right.
there was Black people around, and I was friends with Black people, but just not project housing like that. Just it's a different world. I grew up in Coleraine. I went to private schools. My exposure to lower income stuff. We didn't have any money. My parents didn't have a lot of money growing up. My dad was a fireman. My mom didn't work. They just made do with what they had, and they sent me and my siblings to private schools, and I just had not a whole lot of exposure to that type of world, when terrorist world. It's just
Sure.
it was really eye opening for me for sure. Yeah, like I said, it was beneficial for me to have you there.
Did
And
that?
So
Did that?
now,
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Maurice.
I was going to say now that you're a district chief, which it's pretty there's a lot of responsibilities to being a district chief. How do you compare coming in as a fire, looking at yourself as a firefighter and now at DC? What's the big difference?
I think, like you said, just the responsibility. Like when I was a firefighter, a young guy, I came in worry free. I didn't have to worry about anybody else. I would go to fires. I was a roughneck for 15 years. I really enjoyed being a roughneck. But your day is your day. You take care of what you got to do make sure your lieutenant, Don or Mo or like Dave Lennons and Tom Parker were my lieutenants for a long time. As long as I did what they needed me to do, then I was good. And then, as you promote to lieutenant and then captain and district chief, your world gets bigger in the management side and responsibility side as far as how your day goes and how everybody else's day go. And like I've had some pretty good district chiefs to learn from over the years. Like we had Fred Caligari when I first got out, and Roy Yoakum and Dan Mers, and there's some really good guys over the years that I feel like I learned a pretty good way to deal with people and just help manage. I feel like my job is to help their day go better. But I guess the biggest thing is your world just expands greatly. The level of responsibility and the making sure everybody goes home thing. That's the biggest part for me, is trying to keep everybody on the fire ground safe.
Yeah.
It's a totally different world when you pull up to a fire truck or to a burning building on a fire truck and you're going in to put it out, as opposed to being on the outside with 30 or 40 people that you are friends with and work with and live with
In charge of.
that are inside, and you're responsible for making sure they get out and get home safe. It's a big responsibility for sure.
I remember your dad being a captain at Truck One. He never said a whole lot of words, but one day we had a fire on Eastern Avenue, and after that, him and I became pretty cordial toward one another. We weren't friends, but we were cordial. But when you came to the 38s, he called me personally and said, "Thank you for taking care of my son." You and I got a chance to talk when I stopped down to the firehouse. And one of the things that we talked about was the biggest thing that we learned, that it's important, not only that it was an interchange for both of us, was just treat people right.
Yeah.
Just be fair, treat people right, be truthful.
So all I ever try to do is just treat people the way I want to be treated. Like I don't expect any special treatment ever, but just be fair. That's all. I try to be fair to everybody that I work with, and that everybody that works for me. I was trying to treat them the way that I would expect to be treated personally too. So I know when I got out of drill school, I had 4 or 5 options for where I could go. And I remember calling my dad and saying, "What do you think?" I gave him the list of the companies and the units I could go to, and he told me to go to 38s with Don's. I'm grateful for that.
It matters, especially at the very beginning, because it kind of sets the tone on like your outlook and viewpoint toward the fire department.
Yeah.
If you get, because you get in some places where the guys are just trying to work on you and make trouble for you and expose you. There's firehouses like that.
Yeah,
and then that gets you in kind of a siege mentality where you're defensive, and it matters a lot.
Definitely did not have that from Don. He was very, very good to me, good mentor, was an aggressive firefighter. So that was a good way to set the tone for me. I tried to always live go through my career being as aggressive as I could to do as much.
Right.
And Don obviously did the same thing, and I think he did too, Mo. So it was good.
Was it just his reputation as a really good cook that really got you to go to the 38, to be honest?
I always heard that. I think by the time I got there, he'd retired from cooking.
I cooked a little bit. Bob Turner was a pretty good cook, actually.
Bob always cooked. Yeah, so when I was
cooked and Hollis was
he cooked almost every
good.
day. I don't remember too many meals Don made when I was there. I know he said I did all that stuff back when I was younger. I don't do it too much anymore.
So how much longer till you become assistant chief?
I have no desire.
Come on now.
We talked about that. He said,
I had an opportunity to put in for it a little while ago when there was a couple of vacancies, and I mean they put a stipulation on the position that you needed to have a bachelor's degree, and I do not. So it was kind of like a blessing in disguise for me, because I didn't have to go through that.
You have to worry about it.
Internal battle of do I do it or not, because I really don't want to do it. I like working in the firehouses. I like going to fires. I like making runs. I like working with the crews. I feel like my biggest impact I can have on the fire department is to be in my position I'm in now, and I can help the guys and girls of the fire department more in my position now than if I was to take that next step. I think it would remove me from that, and you guys know it takes you to a different world. You end up in a desk job and dealing with politics and
you're talking to a 40-hour man right there, man.
I know. He did it. I'm sure you did it at short.
I did a recruiting for 18 months, but I never wanted to be.
It's a completely different job. You're right about that.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would
DC to AC.
I don't know. I would hate the schedule. I just don't know. I don't think I would like the jobs. I've never really had that desire to be in that position. I really didn't want to be a district chief, but I had some people that were pretty influential in my career that kind of encouraged me to try it. I agreed to try it one time. If I didn't make the DC when I did, I was never going to take another test again. I was happy as a captain. I think captain was a great job. I really liked riding fire trucks and being part of a crew and making the runs and having the patient contact and the first in fire stuff. So I was fortunate enough to make it when I took the test, and it's not a bad job. It's just not as fun as being on a fire truck. You guys know how it is to be a part of a crew.
I was going to ask you
that camaraderie.
How long did it take you to get adjusted and sleeping in your own quarters, kind of isolated from the boys and the guys?
That was definitely
not really a part of you come down for dinner and you go to meetings, but you're not really a part of the firefighting crew.
It's still not the same, for sure. It's definitely not. Like I said, it's not near as fun. It took me a good year to even figure out how to do this current job and how to live my life as a district chief. It's just different. People talk to you differently. They're really around you, and I'm always like, I'm still the same guy. I'm still Matt. It's still just me. You don't have to do that or anything, and they just do it. It's just part of
it's part of the protocol.
It is, and it shows you how strong that camaraderie is. It's really powerful. The tight knit group of a fire company.
It sure is.
It's just something that you have to really experience it to understand it. But it's important.
You become brothers and sisters, and another guy I worked with for a while, said you have these experiences, like when you crawl down a smoky hallway with somebody, it kind of changes your relationship,
Ain't that the truth?
Yes, it does, man.
It does.
You build a certain level of trust with each other that never goes away.
It can never be duplicated. But it's been about 20 minutes. We've been talking already.
That's quick.
We really, really appreciate your story and candor, Matt. And we always do this with every guest. New guy coming into the fire department right now. What advice do you have for them?
I would say keep your mouth shut and your eyes and ears open. Listen to the old guys; they know what they're talking about, and just enjoy it. It's such a good ride. It's a lot of fun. It's a good career.
You remember my motto I told you when you first came to the 38s? You probably don't remember that. Yes, sir. You lived by that.
I wish
know
you had
did.
remembered, Matt. I really was wishing you could remember.
He lived by that.
We had Uncle Bubba for a little while too, with the soul in his heart. There was a song in his heart. He would sing every day, all day. It was we had some fun times down there, man.
We had some good times. We used to go to lunch and go to dinner, all kinds of stuff, man. Outside of the fire department.
We had Flying Ben there for a while. We called him Lion Ben.
Lion Ben Jordan.
LBJ. Yeah.
There's some good old dudes down there, and it was fun. We had Greg Murray was down there for a while with us.
Yeah, Greg Murray was there. Yeah.
Rodney Triggs.
We had Greg Filia. Mike Washington came through there. We had a lot of people come through there all the time as medics, man.
Really, really good dudes.
We have next time you have to tell us about their fire story. I think one that you got knocked out or you were unconscious or something like that. I never heard the full story about that.
I had we made a fire down. I think it was down on Elm or Race, and Chris was the driver of the truck at the time, and I was on his side of the truck. We had reported a victim it was the third floor. So he put the stick up to the third floor, and I was climbing the ladder because we thought somebody was in there. We could see fire in the window, and he was operating the aerial when I was climbing up in my gear. And as I was going up the ladder, he was actually still raising it because we were in a hurry. We thought there was a victim in there. The spotlight on the end of the aerial caught that power line and stretched it tight like a bow and arrow. And I looked back at Chris and I said, "There's a power line on the ladder." He said, "Knock it off. Just knock it off." So not thinking anything of it, I took my axe and I smacked it as hard as I could with the axe, and it popped off the spotlight and came back and hit me like a bow and arrow would, right in the face. Hit me in the mouth, knocked me on my back on the aerial and my tank. Luckily, it wasn't too steep. It was about a 45-degree angle or less. And I was bouncing down the aerial backwards, unconscious for when I woke up. I think my bottle caught the aerial and stopped me from falling any further. And then I got up and actually, strangely enough, I still put my mask on, went in and did like a VES search in that room, didn't find anybody. By the time I came out, my lip was so swelled up, it was touching the inside of my face piece. So Donnie Phillips was the paramedic on the rescue unit at the time. They put me in the medic unit, put me on a heart monitor just to see if I'd gotten shocked or not, and ended up taking me to the hospital, and I was good. I came back to work. I think
Donnie Phelps was good. He was a good medic too, man.
Yeah, I had a lot of trust. Yeah. That was another. We could talk about these stories all night long, though.
Yes, we could. Hey, but thanks for stopping by.
Thank you, sir.
Matt,
appreciate
it.
Gentlemen, have a good night.
Listening to this, we'd like to leave something, a comment in the comments. Let us know what you think. If you have an experience, send us an email, and we'll put you on the Firehouse Chronicles. And what else do you have to say to them, Don?
Like and subscribe, man. Like and subscribe. And if you got any comments or experience, we'd be more than happy to hear them. Thank you, Matt, for everything. We appreciate you, and take care. Be safe.
See you, gentlemen.
See you next time.
Thank you.